So my name is Yassi. This summer, Catrice, my co-facilitator, and I were lucky enough to work with YVoters that have a passion of fighting for injustices when it comes to the climate. Our group of YVoters dug deeper this summer and focused on the South Bronx and the people who live in this area. They researched about who is most affected by climate injustices and which elected officials will help solve and change these injustices. They did this by a presentation and also doing scorecard and social media.
Our YVoters have put so much work into our presentation, spanning from mock social media posts all the way to scorecards, all the way to researching information and giving you guys resources. So I hope that you guys have a lot of useful feedback for them. I know that they worked really, really hard, and I'm really excited for you guys to see all of this amazing work. So climate justice, take it away once the PowerPoint loads.
Hello, YVoters and guests. We are the Climate Justice, and today we will be discussing why it is important to vote for climate justice, know who you are voting for, and how our environment is being affected daily. Thank you.
To begin, we should define what exactly climate justice is, as defined by Bronx Climate Justice North. Climate justice is an approach to social transformation. While it is an urgent crisis, justice concerns cannot be ignored. Climate change is an issue that it negatively affects marginalized, minority, lower-income communities. This is called environmental racism. The community that we will focus on is the South Bronx.
Another question we have to think about is, why is it up to us to fight? In June 2017, it was announced that the United States was removing itself from the 2015 Paris Agreement. Aside from that, recently it has been declared that there will be drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Reserve. Evidently, these two factors demonstrate that the United States government is only dedicated for economic reasons and is unwilling to recognize damages to habitats and other environments. Therefore, we must recognize that it's up to us to take action for our fellow neighbors in the Bronx.
So this slide highlights the environmental racism in the South Bronx, and one way that environmental racism presents itself is in high asthma rates. In the South Bronx, a community of mostly Hispanics and African Americans, 4 in 10 people live in poverty. These people are exposed to higher rates of pollution due to the location of the neighboring near highways and small industries. Due to this harmful pollution, according to the chief medical officer for the American Lung Association, asthma rates are 4 times higher in the Bronx than nationally. And you can see that in the map.
So how has the history of the South Bronx led to its current states? Why do those statistics exist? District 16 in the South Bronx is the poorest district in the nation. 38% of people living in the South Bronx live below the poverty line. A lot of factors went into this 38%. A lot of it has to do with public housing, the civil rights movement, which caused a lot of wealthier families to move out. The Cross Bronx Expressway in 1963 led to a decrease in property value. In the late 60s, the South Bronx had the lowest vacancy rate in the nation. In the 1970s, there was the arson epidemic, which led to 40% of buildings burnt down, an increase in criminality. A lot of the South Bronx has been left abandoned, with little to no governmental support, which has led to it being the murder, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, and arson capital of America in the 1980s. Most currently, Hurricane Sandy and pollution has led to increased poverty, which then leads to an increase in health needs and asthma rates. Luckily, we can find inspiration from local organizations such as South Bronx Unite, which is fighting against gentrification and redlining in the South Bronx. They are also creating a space for South Bronx residents to grow free food for themselves. They also provide Hurricane Sandy relief. But most recently, they have fought against Fresh Direct moving to the South Bronx, which would bring more pollution and traffic, which again would increase the asthma rates in children and adults, and overall decrease the quality of life in the South Bronx.
So with this, what can you do? Here are some things that you could do by starting off with volunteering to clean up gardens or parks by the highway. Use ICOSA's search engine that plants a tree for every search that you do. Support sustainable South Bronx nonprofit that wants to launch solar installation and green energy job training. There could be also other things such as like raising your voice, and by doing so, you can volunteer for green worker cooperatives, for the South Bronx business that supports worker-owned green business, or you could just start a side hustle of accessories made by plastic or reusable products that you find on the street.
Most importantly, to put gears into motion, we need to vote. Heavy emphasis on voting. And to do so, we need to find politicians who stick to our beliefs and have interest in us and not just our money. Encourage others of age to vote. And if they can't go out, New York City has recently passed the voter online registration for its elections, making everyone safer to vote. And overall, in order to put gears into motion, we have to band together because unity starts with you.
So continuing on the matter of voting, here are some candidates that the residents of the Bronx can vote for. As many of us know, we have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And on the right side, we have Jose Serrano. For our first issue, it's about combating companies to become eco-friendly. AOC wants companies to be rewarded for taking eco-friendly measures and making such technology available to the mass population. On the other hand, Representative Serrano introduced legislation that provides tax credits to businesses that use eco-friendly vehicles, which will increase air quality and job industry at the same time. Going on to issue 2, which deals with environmental racism. AOC and Senator Kamala Harris in 2019 introduced the Climate Equity Act. It holds the government responsible for prioritizing low-income and minority communities for climate-related policies and investments. Representative Serrano co-sponsored the Environmental Justice for All Act. It establishes a program that funds research and projects on environmental and health issues. This act also reinforces the National Environmental Policy Act. It prioritizes early action on impacting communities.
Moving on to the last 2 issues, starting with decreasing carbon dioxide levels in the South Bronx. AOC wants to potentially engage in a Climate Action Now Act, which prohibits funds that speed up America's withdrawal from the Paris Agreement and wants the U.S. to reduce greenhouse emissions by 26 to 28% by 2025. For M. Serrano, overall, he engages in decreasing carbon dioxide levels in the South Bronx by collaborating with the Bronx Community College in supporting like businesses and outreaching to technical like assistance in making this Bronx have better environmental areas. To littering, for AOC, she strongly emphasizes that everything will be within the Green New Deal. And as for M. Serrano, he encouraged the Senate to vote and pass bills to regulate the alienation of municipal parkland and to prohibit littering in state parks and historic sites.
Social media is a major way to spread the word and make a real change. As you can see in this fake Twitter post I created by quote unquote YVote, we show how air pollution is only 10% of climate injustice and there is more to be done. On this fake Instagram post, also by YVote, air pollution is not good for the environment and affects places like the South Bronx tremendously. About 320 trucks pass through the South Bronx every hour, which is a major cause of air pollution. Our mayor and governor should be held accountable for what's happening in the Bronx, and the Instagram post shows how both Mayor de Blasio and Governor Cuomo were tagged. Overall, it's the 21st century and air pollution still affects people. Sharing and educating your friends and family can make a big change and inspire people.
And with environmental racism, we often see that the most vulnerable communities have a lack of institutional power, meaning they don't really have a voice in the government that's supposed to represent them. Our social media campaign seeks to target South Bronx because they are one of those communities who are disproportionately impacted by environmental racism, with major highways, waste transfer stations, and other facilities being placed in their neighborhoods at their expense and without their consent. Yet a very small percentage of District 15 and 16 actually voted in the general election in 2018. Through posts like the ones shown in the slide, we hope to utilize the tactic of education to bring awareness to the scope of the issues in South Bronx in order to encourage the residents to take action, whether it be through organizing, calling on their representatives, or voting.
So this is an example of another mock Instagram post. They're both the same quote, but with different backgrounds. And it's a quote from Jane Goodall that says, "You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make."
That was it.